Welcome to another marvelous video. Today, we'll be talking about a popular horror franchise, Subspecies. This franchise has films and comics to its fame. However, the films and the first volume of the comics have a close connection. Today's video will explain that connection and tell you the story in the comics. Let us first give you a brief background of the film series. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. About the film. The Subspecies movie franchise started in 1991. The first film tells the story of Michelle Morgan and her friends, who traveled to Romania's Prejmer town to study superstitions in Romanian culture. They are introduced to Stefan, who is involved in a feud with his brother Radu over the Vladislas castle. It is revealed that both the brothers are vampires and after the Bloodstone, a diamond from which the blood of saints drips. Michelle and her friends, unfortunately, are pulled into this battle, which changes their lives forever. Radu, the villain of this series, bites Michelle and mixes some of his blood in hers, making her acquire vampire-like traits. The subsequent films follow a struggle between Michelle and Radu to gain control of the Bloodstone, on which their survival depends. The comic series. In 1991, a 4-issue comic series was also published. Now, we all know some prominent examples where the storylines of a movie series and its namesake comic books are pretty different, something which many of you feel strongly about. But this comic series is one of its kind. It's a backstory of what happened in the older times, centuries before Michelle first set foot in Romania, and we feel that the comic series does justice as a precursor to the events in the films. A second volume was released in 2018, which we will also be talking about. Issue number 1. The series starts in Castle Crănescu in Transylvania, Romania, where its ruler, King Vladislav, is seen narrating his backstory to his son Stefan. It is a story of sheer misery linked to his elder son, Radu, an illegitimate offspring. King Vladislav is a vampire who rules over human subjects, and Stefan also shares his blood and traits. In the past, King Vladislav's wife, Yvonne, seduced a guard in her room, and while trying to have an intimate moment with him, a demoness broke in. The guard was brutally killed by the demoness while attempting to save Yvonne. When Yvonne asked her about who she was and what she wanted, the demoness choked her and said that she wanted her shape, soul, and, mainly, to give birth to the king's son. Yvonne's body withered, and she died while her killer took on her look. The demoness in Yvonne's form entered the king's room, where he was sucking blood from one of his human courtesans. She expressed her desire to be intimate with him, following which the courtesan was sent away. The two got intimate, and as King Vladislas felt gratified, the demoness turned into her original form and flew away, giving him a rude shock. King Vladislas rushed into Yvonne's room and broke down after seeing Yvonne's corpse. These events left him scarred, making him lament that he could not beget children from Yvonne. A few months later, the demoness returned and introduced their biological son, Radu, to him. The king was shocked to see her suckling Radu. The infant was sucking blood from her wrist. While he tried to get a hold of them, the demoness vanished. King Vladislas realized then that the demoness wanted to usurp the kingdom of Crănescu, to take revenge on the demoness and carry his legacy forward, and fathered Stefan. King Vladislas expresses disappointment at handing over the strenuous task of defeating Radu to Stefan, while stating that this would be his son's life goal. However, he emphasizes that Stefan is his heir, and this has to be done. Meanwhile, in a camp further away from Crănescu, inside a tent guarded by 2 sentries, Radu tries to force himself on a courtesan. The courtesan reminds him of her duty to please him, but Radu overpowers her and sucks blood out of her neck. He pushes her away after having his fill. However, since this woman is still alive, Radu breaks off the fingers from his left hand. The fingers, which Radu claims to be his pets, turn into creatures and attack the courtesan while he lets out a ghastly laugh. Back in Chroniscu, Stefan starts feeling uncomfortable and discovers that Radu is nearby. He gets up and rushes to fight Radu despite his father's pleas not to go at this time. Meanwhile, a cart is hurtling down a lonely highway, steered by a gypsy. His daughter, seated beside him, suggests that they set camp since it's night. The gypsy says that they will be reaching their destination soon, which is Chroniscu. He mentions that the people of Chroniscu have been kind to him, and he wants to tell them about the Bloodstone, a diamond that oozes blood. When his daughter asks about the importance of the diamond, he tells her that it is something she should not discover, implying that it has a dark background. The gypsy sees a pink flare in the sky and says that it is his enemies, the Turks, Radu's clan, have set up camp further down the road. As he removes stones from one of his horse's hooves before setting off, he is caught by one of Radu's commanders, who then escorts the father-daughter duo back to the camp. Radu, who is laughing with glee at hearing the last breath of the bloodied courtesan, is angered after being interrupted by the commander. When the commander shows him the gypsy and his daughter and tells them they are on the way to Chroniscu, Radu gets overjoyed in seeing Mariah, the daughter, and says that he will destroy her while ripping her blouse. Even with Mariah spitting on his face, Radu seems unfazed. Stefan, meanwhile, breaks into the camp and sees the events unfolding in Radu's tent. The gypsy promises to steal the Bloodstone, currently in a popular church in Rome, to spare his daughter's life and dignity. The gypsy explains to Radu about the gem, a relic of the church which drips the blood of saints, and promises to steal it for him. Radu, however, ignores him and orders his commanders to kill him while continuing to molest Mariah. An enraged Stefan rips open the tent and enters it, taking Radu by surprise. During the commotion, one of the flame lamps in the tent sways and touches the tent's cloth, which catches fire. Radu saves his creatures from the fire, and Stefan escapes with Mariah, telling her that Radu plans to attack Chroniscu. Issue number 2. The second issue opens up with Stefan and Mariah in a safer place within the hills and introducing themselves to each other. Smitten by her beauty, Stefan unintentionally offends her, and while trying to make amends, one of Radu's commanders approaches them on horseback. Stefan single-handedly tackles the commander and his horse. Sensing that Radu's army will come and attack him, Stefan gives his horse to Mariah and tells her to convey to his father that Radu plans to attack Chroniscu. Mariah reaches Chroniscu and conveys the message to King Vladislas, who sets out orders for the town citizens to be accommodated in the fort. He then thanks Mariah and promises to fulfill her safety. Radu prepares an army to attack Chroniscu and then gets his prize horse, Brimstone, an aggressive stallion with a horn on its head, to accompany him. Some soldiers run down the path toward the kingdom to carry out their master's orders to kill its citizens, but Stefan single-handedly defeats them and calls out to Radu in rage. Radu, meanwhile, looks at Stefan from a distance and laments to his team of army men that they cannot access the most convenient path to Chroniscu. He orders his men to keep sending soldiers to Stefan and keep him occupied so that they can take the north and south passes to the castle and finish all the townspeople by sunrise. As Mariah is being tended to by the castle's maidservants, she feels uncomfortable for a moment, forgetting about her father's death and feeling relieved to get Radu's handprints washed off her body. Meanwhile, Karl, King Vladislas's minister, expresses fear that the townspeople are too weak to fight the battle since the royalty has been sucking blood from them for sustenance. The king then tells Karl that he has prepared an army of undead people to assist them in their battle. He meets his undead subjects, who agree to fight the war. King Vladislas further declares that Stefan must fight Radu. Meanwhile, as Stefan kills many of Radu's army men, he rushes with his horse to check the safety of his kingdom. One of Radu's commanders says that they have run out of soldiers to defeat Stefan, to which he replies that they can never win against him. Since both half-brothers share the same blood, only they can fight each other. Radu lets out another evil laugh and threatens Stefan with a gauntlet, which the latter listens to and pauses before making his way to Chroniscu. Issue number 3. The issue opens up with Radu's fingers turning into the creatures we saw in the first edition, who were sucking blood from his courtesan, the Hellions. Radu's commander asks him what purpose it would serve, to which he replies that the creatures would weaken Stefan by biting and scratching him, enabling him to fight his half-brother after feeding on blood. Till the time the commander understands that Radu plans to suck his blood, it's already late. Radu has his fill and commands Brimstone to join him. Back in the Chronoscue castle, while Mariah's being given her clothes after her bath, she remembers that her father told her the location of the Bloodstone. Mariah thinks that if she guides Stefan to the gem, she will have a chance of being a noble of the kingdom. Meanwhile, as a group of Radu's soldiers enter the Chronoscue castle, they shine their lights in a passage and see a woman. The woman thanks them for showing the light so that she can escape them, but then jumps on the soldiers and kills them mercilessly. Karl and King Vladislas watch from a distance, where the king reiterates to Karl his agenda to keep his subjects safe, and that Stefan's battle has just begun. Meanwhile, in the hills, the Hellions attack Stefan and his horse. Stefan realizes that these creatures are Radu's creations and attacks them with his sword. Radu waits for Stefan in a corner after killing another man to consume his blood. When Stefan arrives, Radu commands Brimstone to throw Stefan off his horse. Brimstone knocks Stefan down and is approached by Radu, who stamps on his hand. Radu slaps Stefan and tells him to listen to what he has to say, or he'll end up like his white horse, lying dead in a corner, killed by Brimstone. Radu tells Stefan to join him with his missions, claiming they both have the same blood strain, which arouses murderous instincts. Radu even gives the example of Stefan killing the soldiers single-handedly, but Stefan refuses. Radu then changes into Mariah's form and starts taunting Stefan vulgarly, which enrages him. Stefan tries to attack Radu but is overpowered. While Radu tells Stefan that thinking logically and showing empathy have ruined his character as a demon, Stefan tells Radu that he's indeed born to kill and overpowers him. Radu calls out to Brimstone and Stefan throws him over Brimstone's horn, gravely injuring him. As he lies wounded, he tells Stefan not to show him any mercy and kill him. Stefan kills him after burying his sword in him. Back in the castle, as Karl and King Vladislas discuss the war and wait for Stefan to arrive safely, they discuss plans to stop their dependence on their human subjects for blood to ensure they have a strong army. Mariah approaches them and tells them about the Bloodstone, the answer to the king's problem, as they can consume the drops of blood in the gem and leave the subjects alone. Stefan returns from battle, and while Mariah approaches him, he gets angry and pushes her away. Mariah gets triggered by Stefan's behavior and facial expressions, which resemble a lot of Radu's, reminding her of her father's murderer. Karl then tells Mariah that Stefan and Radu are half-brothers. Shocking. Meanwhile, in the hills where Radu's corpse lies, the Hellions approach the corpse and take out the sword embedded in his chest. They take him somewhere. Issue number 4. This issue starts with a resurrection ritual, where a few demons surround Radu's body and recite some spells. They bring out a kidnapped woman and make her tears fall on Radu's corpse, which resurrects him. Radu gets up and asks why he was resurrected, to which the demons say that he failed his mission of defeating Stefan. As a chance to redeem himself, Radu is tasked to follow Stefan and Mariah to Rome, where they plan to steal the Bloodstone for Chronoscue, but not before killing the woman whose tears resurrected him. Stefan and Mariah, meanwhile, have camped on the way. Mariah is angry with Stefan after learning that he is Radu's half-brother, but Stefan tells her that he had requested his father to stop the wars between the living and the undead after seeing the destruction around him from the last battle. The king agreed and ordered a stop to the bloodletting practices and the war. Both of them are asleep when Stefan wakes up after hearing a voice in the forest. He gets up, promises Mariah not to partake in human blood, and he says he loves her, a feeling he has recently discovered. Mariah reciprocates before telling him to leave. Stefan also tells Mariah to prepare the horses and caravan for departure when he returns. As Stefan enters the forest, he is greeted rudely by Radu's mother. The demoness asks him for Mariah, and Stefan refuses. Radu's mother then tries to capture Stefan with some creepers, but he cuts them off and runs towards the caravan, which Mariah has readied. Stefan and Mariah escape the forest while Radu, Brimstone, and his mother look on and laugh. Radu promises to follow them down to Rome and get the crystal. When the couple reaches Rome after a few days of traveling, Mariah breaks down and tells Stefan that she is scared of stealing from the world's most revered church. Stefan comforts Mariah by telling her that the Bloodstone, as mentioned by Mariah's father, would help the people of Chronoscue be free of their curses and be closer to divinity, which comforts her. A little later, Mariah enters a sewer tunnel in front of the church to break into it as Stefan stands guard. Radu appears from behind and surprises him. Radu then releases his Hellions on Stefan. Mariah successfully enters the church and steals the Bloodstone. However, when she comes out, she is shocked to see Stefan being mauled by the Hellions. Radu approaches her and asks her for the Bloodstone, which she refuses to do. Radu commands the Hellions to leave Stefan and attack Mariah. As the creatures maul Mariah, Radu watches in glee and asks for her bones. Stefan, weak from all the attacks from the Hellions, sees the Bloodstone lying on the ground after it falls from Mariah's hand while the Hellions attack her. He consumes a few drops of blood to gain energy and charges towards Radu, who gets scared and calls his creatures back. Stefan, overcome with rage after seeing Mariah being mauled, grabs a holy cross. While it burns his hand, he does not think about it and throws it on Radu. While Radu cries for mercy while being singed under the cross, Stefan beheads him. Stefan rushes to Mariah, who tells him not to cry for her death. Mariah succumbs in his arms, which breaks his heart. Stefan travels back to Chronoscue with the Bloodstone and Mariah's corpse. It is said that the people of the region, still today, honor Peter Morgenstern, the gypsy, and Mariah, his daughter, for their sacrifices to make Chronoscue a better and happier place. In the epilogue, the Hellions are shown to bring Radu's decapitated head to his mother while he sobs in his mother's bosom. About the characters. Stefan, one of the protagonists of the movies and the main lead in the comics, Stefan is also a vampire who needs to consume human blood to sustain himself. Fathered by King Vladislas, he is the supposed heir to the Chronoscue kingdom, who has to fend off his half-brother Radu, who also claims the throne. While Stefan possesses demon-like qualities, including a thirst to kill, he shows positive human traits, compassion and virtue standing out most. In fact, after meeting Mariah and falling in love with her, he urges his father to stop sucking blood from his human subjects. Radu, the main antagonist of the movie franchise and this comic series, is a vampire demon born illegitimately after his mother, a demoness, seduced King Vladislas and got intimate with her. One creepy ability of his is to turn his fingers into minions who can attack his opponents and obey his orders. Other than that, Radu is a huge turnoff. He is a sadist who derives pleasure from people dying brutal deaths at his hands and even backstabbing his trusted aides. What's worse, he is shown to disrobe Mariah in the series and even molests her. During his fight with Stefan, he even shapeshifts into Mariah and performs lewd gestures to irk him. Radu is also shown to be a mama's boy, obeying his mother and being at her beck and call. Mariah, a gypsy girl who gets entangled in the power tussle between Radu and Stefan. She assists Stefan in getting the Bloodstone for Chronoscue. There are many reasons behind this: revenge against Radu for her father's death, desire to be a royal of Chronoscue, and even out of love for Stefan. Selfless and brave, she succeeds in getting Stefan the coveted blood-filled gem so that he can get his kingdom back to normal. Her sacrifices don't go in vain, for the people of Chronoscue remember her sacrifice for their well-being. Subspecies Comics rebooted in 2018. Volume number 2 of the comic series, resurrected in 2018, has an entirely different storyline from the other films. This time, it features the franchise's main character, Michelle. Issue number 1. After the misadventure in Romania, Michelle returns home and takes up the job of a nurse. She laments the loss of her friends and is sad about her current lifestyle. Unfortunately, since her vampire-like qualities do not allow her to face the sunlight, she has to stay in her workplace during the daytime and take late-night walks for leisure. The Bloodstone is also in her possession, so she has to consume blood from it occasionally to prevent her instincts from flaring up and stay human while reminding herself herself that her job as a nurse is to atone for all the wrong things she did. Radu, meanwhile, is on the way to meet Michelle to get his hands on the Bloodstone. He leaves behind a bloody trail on his journey, killing even a deer and a sex worker to stay fed. Radu enters Michelle's hospital and tries to approach her, but she refuses. A shocked Michelle rushes home and packs her bags to leave, but Radu follows her home and demands the Bloodstone. Michelle refuses and shoots him down. Just then, 3 more incarnations of Radu enter, shocking the living daylights out of Michelle. While this is all we have read in the series, we believe that Michelle and Radu's doubles would either fight for the Bloodstone or travel somewhere to uncover a secret that can benefit both hero and villain. This is considering that Radu's incarnations signify something larger. What do you feel about the continuation? Would Michelle be free of her curse? Would the Bloodstone go into safer hands? Would Radu realize his wrongdoings? The questions and assumptions are many. We would like to know how you think the storyline continues in the subsequent issues, so please do comment and let us know. Marvelous verdict. Let's start with the art style and colors used. What sets the artwork out from many other comics is the depiction of the demons and the vampires. Even though there is not a lot of blood and gore, the physical features of these characters, bat-like wings, pointed teeth, and red eyes, send shivers down your spine. Classic nightmare material, we would say. We liked the artwork of the first volume more. The character arcs leave an impression on the reader's minds as well. We hate Radu for the kind of behavior he exhibits. It's not even a battle for sustenance with foreign species, but molesting women and subjecting them to brutal torture, unpalatable. About the storytelling, well, horror is a disturbing genre. Blood, gore, uncertainty, and whatnot. This comic series is also in the horror genre, but we found it a comfortable read simply because the storyline resembled a folktale. The comic feels like a narration of this legend to an adult, but it keeps us hooked. So the storytelling is perfect. The second volume has generic storytelling, but the colors used set the tone of the comic cleverly. Drab, dark, and only blood is shown as bright red, possibly showing Michelle's mental state. That's our honest review of Subspecies. If you know people interested in mythical horror, share this video with them. We take our leave now, but we will be back with another marvelous video. Till then, goodbye and have a lovely day. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe out there. Thanks, everyone.